Your thoughts on this, more than welcome this morning. Let's bring in Lance Spencer, is the Lib Dem County Councillor for Goldsworth East and Horsell Village. Morning to you, Lance. Hi.
Morning, James. Happy New Year to you.
Now, you're making the proposals of the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit at a meeting next week, and I know in Horsell Village you've got a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, haven't you?
Oh, we have indeed. It took a long time to get sorted out, and the current process for getting a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit is has to be speed checks all the way along the high street to check what the actual current speed is. And if the average speed is above 24.1 miles per hour, then there has to be traffic calming to slow the traffic down before you can implement a 20-mile-an-hour zone. Now, the problems here is the cost of all that testing of the speeds is significant. And then if you have to implement traffic calming, that's really, really expensive. So these are speed bumps and speed ramps and all the sorts of things you see put in place to slow traffic down. What we're proposing is that we simply change the signage where it's 30 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour. And then where there are hotspots, if there are any hotspots, you then put traffic calming in place for those areas. That's a much less expensive way of doing it. So if I think about Horsell Village, not just the high street, it would cost us hundreds of thousands of pounds to do the traffic calming necessary to implement 20-mile-an-hour zones. What we want to do is simply change the signage to do that. So that's what we're proposing. The reason for this is to create a nicer place to live. But the main thing is what we need to do is cut down the number of vehicle movements. Looking at Surrey, we emit 6 million tonnes of carbon every year. And Surrey is unusual because the amount of that comes from motorised traffic is about 40%, so about 2.5 million tonnes. And what we need to do from a climate point of view is to reduce the number of vehicles on the road, the number of traffic movements. To do that, we need more people walking, more people cycling, and reducing the speeds on the roads is a really important part of that happening.
Lance, is that a proven thing? Is that the case in Horsell? You've got this 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Are people on their bikes and walking more then?
There are more walking and more cycling, but the problem we've got is it is only just a little bit of high street that's been done, because beyond that, the speeds were more than 24 miles per hour, and therefore we couldn't have a more extended zone put in place. And that's exactly what we're trying to change, because I want the whole of Horsell to be 20 miles an hour, not just the little bit of high street, which really wasn't a big problem to start with, to be honest.
Right. The AA have questioned how much the police will enforce the limits. What do you make of that?
Well, part of this is about changing community behaviour. We want the communities, so would only be implemented where there's community support. So I'm assuming that Horsell, in this example, would support it across the community. So that would encourage people to think about it. When you get in your car, you're going to think, I'm in a 20-mile-an-hour zone, so that's what I'm going to, I'll travel slower, which is really, really good. So there will be hotspots, and where there are hotspots, there are several ways of dealing with this, and we've got one in the Horsell High Street where the local community can do speed watch themselves. They need to be trained on it, but they can do this watch, and they can identify vehicles that are breaking the limit, and then the police can take the necessary actions from that.
Good talking to you, Lance. It's a subject that lots of people have got in touch about. Eric, good morning. No speed limits. What's needed? Is a preset for cars not to go faster than 20 miles an hour in certain areas. Do you know what? I think we had a futurologist on earlier on. That possibly could be the future, couldn't it? With electric cars all talking to each other. You hit an area and you can't go any faster. Interesting idea.